Bullies pulled her top at recess, they didn't know she could snap arms. It happened in less than 3 seconds, but for her, those 3 seconds felt like the longest and most humiliating moment of her life. One moment, she was standing quietly near the edge of the playground, trying to ignore the taunting voices that had become a constant soundtrack to her school days. The next, a sharp yank nearly knocked the wind out of her. Fingers rough, eager, merciless, gripped the neckline of her top and yanked hard, pulling it down just enough to expose her in front of a cluster of laughing faces. Time slowed. She felt the cool breeze on her skin, the burning flush of shame on her cheeks, and the sound of their laughter echoing in her ears like a cruel drumbeat. She froze for half a second, too stunned to breathe, and then, in a blur of instinct and fury, she moved. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know what she was capable of. But they were about to find out. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for those who can't stand for themselves, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs courage today, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can turn stories into lessons that inspire change. Leave a comment below if you've ever seen someone stand up to injustice. Your voice matters here. Her name was Alina, and she had spent most of her life trying to disappear into the background. She wasn't the loudest in the room, she didn't have the shiniest clothes, and she definitely wasn't in the popular crowd. She had been the quiet girl for as long as she could remember, the one who kept her eyes down and her steps soft, because she had learned early that drawing attention came with consequences. Her family had moved from place to place because of her father's work, never staying long enough to form real roots. This new school, Maplewood Middle, was supposed to be a fresh start. But within a week, it felt more like another battlefield. The bullies here were different. They weren't just kids who tossed casual insults or whispered behind her back, they were calculated, organized in their cruelty. They picked their targets, tested their limits, and escalated until they broke something inside you. Alina had seen them do it to others, watched the way shy kids would shrink over the months, until they stopped showing up altogether. She told herself she would be invisible enough to escape their notice. She was wrong. It started with small things. A missing notebook from her desk. A shove in the hallway by accident. Someone scribbling on her backpack with a permanent marker. But then they learned something about her, something she had been trying to hide. She had a scar that ran diagonally across her right shoulder, from a childhood accident she hated talking about. She always wore tops that covered it. The first time one of them caught a glimpse during gym class, they smirked in a way that told her they had found their weapon. They began making jokes about her weird shoulder and broken body. She tried to laugh it off, but inside she felt the old, familiar ache of being marked, different, damaged. That day at recess was the breaking point. It had been cloudy, the air heavy with the smell of rain, the kind of weather that made the playground feel small and tense. She had been standing by the fence, pretending to scroll on her phone, when the three of them, Dylan, Max, and Josh, came up behind her. She had heard their footsteps but kept her eyes down, hoping they would pass. Instead, Dylan's hand shot out, gripping the neckline of her top, and yanked hard. She heard the rip before she felt the exposure. The laughter erupted before she could even turn around. But what they didn't know was that Alina had grown up with a father who, before his current job, had been a hand-to-hand combat instructor in the military. From the time she was 6, he had taught her self-defense not as a sport, but as a survival skill. She had practiced joint locks, pressure points, and disarming techniques until they were muscle memory. She had promised herself she would only ever use them if she had no other choice. That promise broke the second Dylan's laughter hit her ears. In a blur, her hand shot up to grab his wrist, twisting it sharply until she felt the joint strain. Dylan's eyes went wide, his laughter cutting off into a gasp. Max reached out to pull her away, but she pivoted, catching his arm and applying a quick, precise lock that sent him dropping to his knees. Josh froze, his smirk vanishing, as both of his friends struggled in her grip. She didn't break their arms, she didn't have to, but she made sure they understood how close she could come. Her voice was low, steady, trembling not with fear but with something deeper. The laughter on the playground had gone silent. That was the moment everything changed, not just for them, but for her. She had crossed a line she could never uncross. But she also felt something she hadn't felt in years, the weight of her own power. She walked away, leaving them clutching their wrists and staring after her, too stunned to speak. The days that followed were strange. Some kids looked at her with new respect. Others avoided her entirely, whispering in corners. The bullies kept their distance, but the damage they'd done before still lingered. Her trust in people was cracked. She still felt the phantom burn of humiliation, the memory of laughter when she was most exposed. She wanted to believe that one moment of standing up for herself was enough to heal it, but healing wasn't that simple. And then came the day when she saw another kid, smaller, younger, just as quiet. Cornered by the same group near the back of the cafeteria. This time, she didn't hesitate. She didn't need to hurt anyone. She simply stepped in, eyes locked on Dylan, and said nothing. The message was clear. They stepped back. And for the first time, she saw gratitude in someone else's eyes instead of pity. Months passed. The rain came and went, the seasons changed, and Alina learned that strength wasn't just in the ability to fight back, it was in the decision of when and why to use that strength. She started a self-defense club at school, teaching other kids the skills her father had taught her. She began to walk taller, speak louder, and take up the space she had once tried to shrink into nothingness. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. These are not just stories, they're reminders of the strength we carry inside us. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need these lessons. Before we end, we have a special request. Comment below about a time you, or someone you know, stood up to injustice. Your story could inspire someone else to find their courage.